أهلا بكم مشاهدينا. أنا كورين فرحات أرحب بكم من واشنطن دي سي وجولة في معرض فن القرآن نتعرف فيها على مختلف النسخ القرآنية المعروضة والتي خطت في مختلف مراحل التاريخ الإسلامي منذ جمعها للمرة الأولى في زمن الخلافة الراشدة وحتى العصور اللاحقة. وإذا كان لهذا المعرض ملامح دينية بحكم أنه يستعرض نسخاً من القرآن، إلا أنه يهدف أيضاً إلى إظهار القيمة الفنية للمخطوطات.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين.
We decided to open the exhibition with the Surah Al-Fatiha synchronized with the calligraphy in order for the public to understand how fundamental the Quran as a recited text is. This is the Quran manuscript that opens the exhibition. It's quite monumental. It weighs 150 pounds, so it needed like 4 men to be carried. And you need actually 2 men to turn the pages. It was made in late 16th century Iran. It's beautiful because you have like lines written in black, alternating with lines in gold. And we opened it on Surah Iqra, which was the first chapter revealed to the Prophet Muhammad. These are the earliest fragments we have on view in the exhibition, and they probably date not long after the death of the Prophet Muhammad, and certainly not long after Osman. It's written on parchment. It's in a script called Hijazi because it was probably developed in the region of Hejaz. And what you have here, it's a lot of text on the page. So you don't have diacritical dots, no vocalizations, which means that could be read accurately only by people who knew the Quran by heart. But it was the time where there was some urgency, you know, like companions of the Prophet were dying, Islam was spreading out of Arabia, so there was the need to send full copies of the Quranic text to the main centers of the nascent Islamic empire. And so you will note that here, for instance, you don't have verse separators, you don't have surah headings, for instance. So here you reach the end of a chapter and you go on to the next line, you know, you see with the Bismillah here, and what you only have is like these little waves that separate one chapter from another. Decorations and you know, calligraphy will come right after that, actually in the 8th century. So what you have here, it's a copy that was made not long after the other example. Here you're in the early 8th century. It's still copied in Hijazi. But what is interesting is that it's starting getting an original format, which is horizontal format. And you still don't have the verse separators, but what you have here is that wonderful palm tree, very stylized, you know, in green and red paints, that marks the end of a chapter and the beginning of the next one. So right from, you know, the earliest period, you have this appearance of decorations to make clear separations and to help the reader to locate himself or herself within the text. This is the Quran copied by Abdullah Sayrafi, who is probably one of the most famous calligraphers of the 14th century. He was active in northwestern Iran, and he was the pupil of Yaqut al-Musta'asimi, the greatest calligraphers. What is staggering here, it's that you will note Abdullah Sayrafi used several scripts to transcribe the Quranic text on one page, and you have that very complex layout using lines in black muhakkak, followed by 3 lines in small nasr, then muhakkak again, but written in gold, and alternating again with 3 lines in nasr and muhakkak. That you have incredible surah headings, written in these Kufic scripts. So you can imagine how long, how time-consuming it was to produce one copy of the Quran like that. And we know that Abdullah Sayrafi produced several copies of the Qurans in this format. This is an impressive volume that was made in the late 15th century in Cairo, in Egypt. And you have these large single volumes that are characteristic of the Mamluk period, with impressive, like what we call carpet pages, predominantly blue and gold, that opens the Qurans, and these fantastic bindings also that sort of mirrors the decorations inside the Quran. What you have, with these volumes is like several layers of history, made in Cairo, and it found a second life in Istanbul. Now it's being showed in Washington, D.C. So this is probably one of the most impressive Quran manuscripts ever made. It took 7 years for the calligrapher and illuminator to complete this 30-volume Quran. It was made in Baghdad in the early 14th century. And what is incredible about these manuscripts, it's the calligraphy, where you have these alternating lines in gold outlined in black, and black outlined in gold that seems to float on the page. Moreover, the calligrapher blended two styles. It's mainly muhakkak, but he added some characteristics of the Sulus scripts that makes it unique, that's so fluid. In terms of calligraphy, it's reached sort of like a perfection that you will seldom see thereafter. When you are a Muslim, it's quite overwhelming to see all these beautiful productions. And I suppose that when you're not a Muslim, it's quite, I would say, inspirational, I think. I hope this exhibition will help the American public to better understand what the Quran is. But first and foremost, I hope it will show the culture that was born from the revelation, culture and civilization that blossomed for like 1,500 years.
مشاهدينا أشكركم على المتابعة. أنا كورين فرحات أودعكم. راسلوني على إيميل البرنامج المجلة@الحرة.com، وتابعونا على صفحة البرنامج المجلة شو على الفيسبوك، وبلاقيكم الأسبوع المقبل بنفس الموعد.